Hey.
Good to see you.
Hi.
Cute glasses.
Oh, thanks. Oh, oh,
Well, when you got to wear them, they ought to be cute. I mean, it's
That's
just
right.
straight
yeah,
up.
I never wear them, and sitting in front of a computer, I realize I probably should start wearing them again.
Right?
Yeah, there you go. My daughter gets her glasses from is it Warby Parker? That you see advertised on TV.
Yeah.
That is really big, selection of them, it's like, so yeah. Sylvie's not going to be able to join us. She's got a shoot in Seattle that she's got to go to. So
All right.
she is going to be busy.
And there's somebody, Heather. I don't know if I've met Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I'm Linda's daughter, if you're not. Yeah.
Nice. Well, nice to meet you. I'm Lonnie. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. And I'm in here twice because we're going to do some combination of sharing. So you're going to see me both like in a photo and in the video.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm taking a couple of community college classes right now, and I run into the same thing. Like I'll have my iPad, doing one thing, and then I log in on the laptop, and sometimes I get a little echo feedback. I got to work on that.
Yeah, the key is only join auto with one device.
Yeah, exactly. So Linda, who else are we waiting for?
Well, I'm waiting for Paige.
Nice.
Daryl indicated that he can't come this evening. Like I said, Sylvie's got a shoot in Seattle. I'm just trying to think who else. Cameron indicated that he was going to be on the call. Sally is otherwise indisposed. She's working on another project this evening.
Okay.
So I don't know about Earl. I think Phil is still traveling the world. That's as much as I know right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll take whatever opinions we can get.
Yeah, we'll work with what we can, right?
Yeah, exactly. So is the baby available for a preview?
Oh, she's actually taking a nap.
Oh,
no, you said that with relief.
I understand that, Mama.
We're doing this 4-month regression thing, sleep. It's been exhausting at night. So Dad got home and is sitting with her in the nursery. Otherwise, yes, you would be able to see her, but nope, not right now.
Fair enough. Yeah. Not with a sleeping baby. I got it. Yeah, I know. Oh, someday you can just sneak her in.
I will. Oh no, you guys, you'll meet her eventually. You'll see her.
Hi, Cameron. Glad you can join us.
Hello.
Oh, I didn't see.
So should we give it one more minute before we get started?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
See who else, and if there's anybody else who might attend.
Got our regular meeting on Monday, so
Yeah.
yeah.
That's weird. The camera. That was weird. Did you see it all black out? Was that just my screen? I took a sip of this, and then the camera, see, like that. It focused on something. Zoom etiquette, sorry.
Here we go. Okay, well, I think what we'll do is we'll get started. So, yeah, Heather Muir has joined us today, and yep, she is my daughter. Heather's a marketing and design consultant. She works for a company out of Canada by the name of Benevity, and she has been very graciously volunteering her time and her talent to help us put together some key elements of this event from a technical standpoint. She's working on the registration platform currently. She has pulled together the banner and the flyer. And just most recently, she's been digitizing the judging rubric and the scoring sheet for the judges. And she's going to share that information with us just a little bit later. So thanks, Heather, for joining us. And thank you, Adriana and Lonnie. I know it's Friday, and, for a lot of folks, it's like, and Cameron too, for a lot of folks, it's like, oh gosh, I just want my weekend. So thank you for coming on 5 o'clock on a Friday. So November is a pivotal month for us. That's when registration opens. It goes live on the 15th. So everything that we've been doing right now has been in aid of making that possible, making sure that we are well prepared to go live on the 15th. And one of the key elements of that has been to get the website together. So it is it's informational as well as instructive from the standpoint that if somebody sees a flyer, if somebody sees a banner, or gets some word of mouth information about the upcoming event, when they go to the website, it provides enough information to inform a decision about, yes, I want to register for this event. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Cameron, so you can share what you have pulled together with regard to some of the content that's been provided up to this point.
Yeah, sounds good. I will see if I can share my screen here. So we have a web page created that still needs to have quite a bit of editing. Are you guys viewing the web page right now? Yes. There's some of the things we weren't able to edit yet because of the way it's set with the communications manager. I'm going to work with him to get kind of the final edit. So this banner will probably change, but we have a URL. It's just City of Lakewood .us/film96. So that'll be where pretty much we direct everybody to go. We'll have the registration link. So right now we have a flyer that Heather created and a little brief description. Sally wanted to highlight the cash prizes. So that's the part we have here. People will be able to click on this flyer, download it and share it with, and just share it with any groups they have. We tried to bullet the important dates. So registration opening, closing, orientation, when the submissions are due and when the actual screening event is. And then kind of in the process of being updated, we have some main categories. So registration, this lets people know how many teams, the categories they can be in, the cost, how many team members they can have. And then we're going to add a few more details, make it more fun in that part. So the rules, just basically explaining that we have a 4-minute film, 96 hours to film, and that they can use any category. And this was some stuff that Jim had added earlier. So it's about what experience should the participants have, and it's really just being open to all skill levels and participants. And then Jim also created some links to some different editing software and some where they can pull the music down or pull music that's license free or that they'll be able to use in their videos. And then Lynn has provided some other information that I'm kind of in the process of updating. So this will really be where we direct all the traffic to, and then they'll have a registration link right up at the top here on this page.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that? So you'll note there is that QR code on the flyer that Cameron was talking about. So all you have to do is hold up your phone and it will take you directly to the website.
The site here.
And there's the link there as well. So you'd be able to click on the link and it would accomplish the same thing. And thank you, Heather, for pulling together the flyer. It looks really good.
I don't think I have any questions, but I would like to suggest we maybe, I don't know, we have like one final review of this before it goes live, a few days. I mean, we have our group meeting is next week. The Arts Commission meeting is next week, but I'm wondering if we should have one more subcommittee meeting before this goes live, just to really flush out any of the other details on the site. So like, we feel like it's like, yeah, we're on it.
Well, I agree with you, Lonnie. I think that as Cameron just said, it's still very much a work in progress in terms of incorporating, more of the content and maybe thinking about whether or not some content perhaps needs to be deferred to the orientation because it's too much information too fast.
Yeah.
So there'll be some more dialogue, I think, that needs to happen before this is kind of, how shall I say, rubber stamped and ready to go.
Yeah, and I'll probably save these edits that it just made as a draft, and then we can review them as a team before we make the final push to make it live. Sounds good.
That sounds good. And then we probably, maybe before the end of the call, we ought to set a T date for when we would do that. When we would be, how shall I say, in near final draft status for a review. So let's be thinking about when we would want to do that in consideration of when we need to be sure everything's in place for registration, or at least 2 weeks before registration actually opens.
I'm going to say mom, but
Yeah.
in support of that thought process, I would also say you would want to take that time when you are reviewing the website to also have a couple of you test registration. And that if you secure that date, then that lets me know what the end date is to finalize the design for registration. And I would also suggest Mom, you, me, Cameron, and Sally meeting maybe a little bit before that, just because there are a couple options for how registration workflow can go and whether or not you choose to allow people to create teams and then add individuals later, or allow people to just sign in and add themselves to a team. So it depends on like the burden that you either place on the team leader, which isn't necessarily a burden, but it's design speak of who is addressing what essentially. So that would be the only thing I would suggest is, I think when you guys have that meeting to review the website, we also want to have you test registration at that time as well and provide feedback.
Okay. So Cameron, your thoughts on that? When do you think that it would be reasonable to do that? When should we dial in? And I'm thinking, well, Heather, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking it's probably better if it's an in-person meeting.
Probably, because then I can open up the actual platform and we can pivot and make the edits live together and just go, yeah, let's do this. Let's add this. Let's remove this. And that might be, like I said, a meeting for you, Cameron, me and Sally. But then when we go and meet with the larger team for the Arts Council, having them test registration and also providing feedback as well.
Yeah, and I think how long do you need to get registration up to that point to make those decisions, or do you have that pretty well?
It's like almost done. Honestly,
Okay.
I was waiting for some of the copy that Mom was working on that she's added now to the website to just incorporate some basic.
I don't think I think my copy is only partially there right now. Is that correct, Cameron?
On the website?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's it's about half incorporated.
Yeah. At this juncture, I'm just trying to make the workflow and the formatting of the registration is done. I'm just trying to make it look pretty now. You know,
Okay.
I'm trying to make I'm adding in like some of the description of the event, just basic, but just enough to, of course, support what's on the website. So people, when they go in, they go, oh yeah, that's the actual event that I'm registering for. Great. And then adding in a couple, I'm going to put in the banner and things like that. And also just some of the terminology we use for like team leader versus a team attendee, things like that. So it's just content based at this point, but the registration is almost done.
Okay, well, Linda, it looks like we had the tentative meeting for Tuesday at 10. If you wanted to take that time to review some of the website and documents around registration.
Okay, I think that would be great. Let's do that. Let's incorporate that into that meeting.
Okay, and did that work for you, Heather? I know you had a different schedule.
Oh, you're actually, okay, what time? Wait, hold on.
Tuesday at 10 a.m. Would that work for you, Heather, or is that a non-starter?
If I can't attend in person, we could still do a Zoom potentially. I'll check my schedule for work, but we can, even if I'm not there, I can still pivot and make changes while we're on the phone together, because I can have the site up and live.
Okay. All right.
But yeah.
So, all right. So to continue on then, or to recap briefly, website is still under construction. We've got a tentative appointment to include Heather. Well, actually, we have an appointment to tentatively include Heather at 10 a.m. on Tuesday so that we can get that nailed down. The event banner is complete. Can you do a screen share, Heather, on the event banner so that everyone can see that?
Yeah, I can pull it up. I will say, bear with me a little. The screen sharing options are a little different than my own for Zoom. And so usually I can share my secondary screen, but we'll go ahead and do this. And can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the banner, essentially. I believe it's already gone to the printers as well. So it's gone to Larson. Did I have that right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's gone to Larson, and this will be displayed in front of Park Lodge along the fence line on Gravelly Lake, correct?
Right. So the hope is to get that banner placed on the 2nd of November. I mean, tentatively, that's what we're hoping to be able to accomplish. Okay.
I think Sally just told me right before this meeting. I think it's done, so I'll be picking that up on Monday, and I'll put it out there. Excellent,
Cameron. That's wonderful. Okay, we're moving right along. What is that expression? We're cooking with gas. I love that. Okay. Okay. So completed task, like Heather mentioned, the banner has gone to Larson Sign Company. We have finalized our orientation facilitator, Richard Miller. Some of you may have met him online at our last subcommittee meeting. So he is going to be preparing the orientation handouts, which are going to include a, how shall I say, a tutorial on how to make a movie in 96 hours. And it will include all the information with regard to gear, proper citations, how to tell a story. He'll have film clips, a whole bunch of stuff. At any rate, he does an extremely good job. So we're very fortunate to be able to have him in place. Okay, so as far as work that's currently in process, I think we've covered some of these already with regard to web content, registration, and testing. We've also been working on a judging rubric because there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of different moving parts to this event. And sometimes you have to work on some of these things simultaneously because some of what you do over here will inform on what you're doing in terms of registration and the like that has maybe an earlier T date. So we were working on creating a judging rubric in order to determine awards, among other things. And Heather took the content that I provided and has digitized it into a format that will allow us to not necessarily all work together, or all the judges to work together in maybe one singular location, but to be able to send them the information via email so that they can judge films in their jammies in their living rooms. So this is a pretty great thing. And so I'm going to turn it over to Heather to do a screen share on the judging rubric and score sheet. And Heather, the folks here on the call have not had the opportunity to really look at the content or get a sense as to what the criteria is for some of these award categories or judging categories. So if when you do your screen share, if you could maybe just give it a little time so that maybe they can just read some of the key elements for some of the, how shall I say, the judging categories, okay?
Yeah,
So I'll turn it over to you, Heather.
absolutely. Can everybody see my screen right now? Okay, perfect. We have accomplished our first hurdle. So what we are actually looking at here is a platform called Constant Contact. If you've ever used Constant Contact before, it is essentially an email marketing tool that has the ability to generate forms, surveys, social posts, a whole host of things that will allow the team behind this project to not only capture data for judging, but also even be able to email participants. So once people register in the ActiveNet solution for the city, the team will be able to download a list of attendees and also upload them into this platform to be able to send them follow-ups, reminders. Please make sure you complete all the necessary releases. Even be able to update, for instance, information about location of event. The best part about this is that it's also going to allow the team to take all the data that we have received this time around for this event, and then next year be able to create and generate a lot of excitement for the 2022 event. Or I should say 2023 will be when it'll be next year. But being able to say, hey, this summer we have some great programming coming up next fall or next winter. We're so excited, and we hope you join the next Real Life 96 film event. So it's a really great platform to be able to generate a lot of those items. Also, being able to digitize forms, reviewing, and scores in one place. So I did create this one based on the content that I made. I'm getting quite a bit of feedback on the phone. Let's see. There we go. Perfect. So we opened up this form. You'll see that it first starts with providing a rubric to the judges to be able to look through so they know how to grade and what to look for in each of the categories listed. And as I scroll through, and I'm going to do so rather slowly, just so you can see what some of those key categories are. You'll notice, of course, it does go from 1 to 7, with usually 1 being very poor, or even in some cases disqualified, to 7 being excellent. Now, once they've had the opportunity to get a little bit of idea of what they're looking for from a grading standpoint, they can always return to this in process while they're going into the actual scorecard. So this is the Real Life 96 film scorecard. At this time, the judge will go ahead and put in their name. The film title, team name, and age group will already be listed for them. So they'll have all the information about this particular film that they'll need. And then they can go ahead and rate accordingly. So as I do that, we're going to go ahead and use Joe Snow. I can go ahead and begin to look at that rating. If I'm unsure of a specific category, like what use of a specific action, I can always scroll up really quickly, find that particular area and go, oh, you know what? I think they fall in the 4 and 5 range. And then go ahead and go back down and make my rating. Any questions on this so far? It can be a little bit repetitive, but we're trying to score in all of the necessary categories. Nope. Once the judges have made their selections and rated them accordingly, they then can go ahead and answer additional questions such as ensemble cast rating, lead actor performance, lead actress performance. They also can give the film an overall rating based on age group. They then can indicate, yes, based on my review and scores, I do believe that this film is eligible for screening. They can check that box. And they also, if decided that it wasn't eligible, could indicate a reason for disqualification or that it's not applicable. Once they do that, they can go ahead and submit their score. Now, if for some reason they hadn't answered all the required questions, they then would be directed to go up and answer that particular question. The nice thing about this is that this will summarize and collate all of the data around that particular film across all judges. So whether you have 10 judges, 15 judges, they're going to be able to fill out all the data on this particular form. And then it will be stored in the actual dashboard below. So if I go ahead and update this, it's going to indicate that we have another submission that was just completed. So here's our submission. And if we wanted to go ahead and see the information about it, it would give us that Joe Snow, who just completed our judging scorecard for the funny film.
And then Heather, after the film is submitted, okay, it essentially goes into an administrator database, is that correct? Where the information can then, but it's automatically sent. They don't have to email it or anything, correct?
Nope. As soon as they complete it and hit submit score, it will automatically go. So that was exactly what happened right here. As soon as I submitted it and I updated the admin database, which is what I was in, it then said, hey, you have a new submission. It will also indicate to me how people are submitting this information. And one of the things that I like about this particular model the best is that I can access this on my cell phone. So if I am sitting again in front of my home computer watching a film, or if I am sitting and watching it in another location, I can go ahead and pick up my phone and still fill out the scorecard right on my phone. And it will still send it directly back to the administrators for Real 96 immediately after completion.
So I think one of the great things about this from a how shall I say, from a time management perspective is this: as opposed to using paper ballots and then as an arts commission having to manually count these paper ballots. If you have 32 teams generating films and you have 15 judges who are judging these 32 films, and you think you've got 15 times 32, if you don't have to collate all of those reviews or scorecards as a team, you're now only working with 32 sets of data as opposed to almost 480 sets.
Yep.
So this is a huge, huge time saver. And then the information for each film, the reviews for each film can be exported into Excel, and it can roll up into a score across all 32 films for what film constituted the, how shall I say, the highest ranking score in terms of best film quality, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep, that's exactly correct. And in fact, to kind of give you an idea, and I'm not sharing it currently, but I just exported the data And let's see if I can also share it. And it will allow us to actually see that for just a particular film that I haven't filtered in any way. So I have not pulled any particular categories, but I could. And it would allow me to say, I just want to look at camera skills and acting leads for this particular film. And then I could say sort and tally, and it would give me the total score based on all 15 judges and their scores on camera skills for this film.
So we are very close to going to testing with this in terms of members of the Arts Commission. How shall I say, acting as a judge in order to fill this out and get comfortable with it and provide some feedback with regard to the rubric itself. But I think it would be really helpful right now if Heather could get some of your thoughts with regard to what you're seeing thus far.
I love it. Yeah, I've done too many hand tallying of all kinds of things. So no, this is great. So, and please feel free to use me as a guinea pig for the QR code to pre-register, and I'm happy to do a test run. Yeah, so throw my name down. It's awesome. It's great work.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Yeah,
very
I
much, Lauren.
like that the use of using that survey. I know when I use that at school to go through 600 students, like if I'm sending out a survey, that's a lot of work to go through each individual, handwritten, whatever submission. So it's nice just to be able to filter like, okay, who said, yes, this is eligible. Okay, now we can narrow it down from there. Let's look at the scores, tally all those up. So that takes a huge load off of the rest of us.
It
Yeah,
does.
that's awesome.
And, I think it's fair to say that when something has great ease of use, it's sustainable. It's not a chore. You're more inclined to want to keep going because it's not an onerous task for you to deal with. So I'm really happy with what Heather's pulled together up to this point. And I think that, if we can all agree with regard to the content and we feel good about that, then I think that I think it can be a really fabulous tool for us. So,
Well, and Mom, I'm going to hijack you really quickly. And this is just the sales side of my job coming in general, but from a value proposition, I mean, that's really where it comes back to, is that sustainability element. So not only the fact that this has been created, but the fact that we have the ability to go in and copy it and say, hey, you know what? I like this so much. Let's copy it for next year and change the name of the film that's submitted. We don't have to rebuild the wheel. We don't need to create another rubric. We don't need to have another Q&A. If there are other categories that you want to go ahead and add, we'll copy it, we'll edit it and add another category for scoring. But this is supposed to be something that you will be able to use over and over again and never have to recreate.
I love not reinventing the wheel. I think that's grand. Okay, excellent. So talking about judging, okay, because this platform promises to be very simple and seamless in its use, we can afford to have more judges than what we might otherwise. Okay, and I had gone through and I had looked at some other film festivals across the country. Some of them have as few as 5 judges. Some of them have as many as 25, but there seems to be a sweet spot between 12 and 15. And so with that in mind, I was thinking about, well, what should the mix be? When I was working on this rubric and I was pulling together review information from like secondary schools and other schools, the review templates that they have for young filmmakers, it was clear to me that, it would be helpful to have some people with some technical ability in filmmaking judging these films. And so I at first thought, okay, so maybe a couple of city council members. It would be good maybe to have Jason Whalen, Patty Bell, perhaps, if they were interested, because they have worked closely with us in the past. Maybe a 2 or 3 Arts Commission members, and maybe the balance, people with some maybe educators with a background in film, and then maybe others with practical experience in filmmaking. But I was looking for some of your thoughts with regard to that number. What do you think? Now that you know you won't be collating these scoring sheets yourself. Paige.
Yeah, I'm very excited to introduce you to a man that I kind of roped in to just being part of this meeting in any case to see what he might think, but he has experience judging arts and is a very talented filmmaker as well as photographer. So if he's there, I would love to introduce you to Gary Lapierre and see if he might have some thoughts on what we're up to and maybe be interested in participating in the judging.
Hi, Gary. You are on mute.
Hello.
Hi.
Gary, what did you think of what we're up to? Does it seem like it's something that is a good way of judging to you?
It does seem like it's a good way of judging. I like the flexibility of it, and it is really great to be able to compile all the data that way better than I think it's a great method for doing that. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Gary. Appreciate your feedback. So what about the total number of judges, and what are your thoughts about dialing in some city council members as well as maybe some educators and the like? What are your thoughts?
Council members, well, everybody likes a celebrity judge, so yeah, I think it's good to have some folks involved that way.
Yeah.
I really think, as far as getting your panel of judges together, I like the idea of having different people involved and not just academics or not just, necessarily filmmakers or whatever that way. Having people from various job positions or various perspectives come in and judge it is great. I also am down, I think it's a great idea to have, I don't know, 10 to 20, something like that, maybe 10 or 15 judges in there. If we can get that many together, I think that would be great, because it's just more people to give their opinions on the film, and it gives a broader spectrum of perspectives, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think the more people that you have engaged in the process, I think the more likely you are to get a more balanced view of how that film was perceived.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah, so maybe we start with 15.
Yeah, the way I see it, not everybody's going to have necessarily the right terminology or the technical skills to critique things, but everybody knows what they like and what they don't like.
That's true.
And that even if they can't necessarily explain in grandiose detail why they don't like something or whatever. So yeah, I think the more the merrier as far as the judges are concerned. I would say 10 or 15, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Mom.
Yes.
This is a little self-serving, but it's something that we do all the time with registration for programs, especially for like public programming.
Yeah.
Leverage your teachers or your principals. If you can invite a celebrity principal that can then market for you, especially when you're trying to capture that, I think that age range, the youth age range, if you want to invite somebody to be a judge that is a principal or somebody that's in the arts department at Clover Park or Clover Park Technical or what have you, you then can also leverage them to hopefully market the event as well to their students and encourage them to participate.
True. Adriana, you'd be a solid resource for, I think, information with regard to who might fit that bill in terms of maybe an educator, somebody who has skill, interest, and would be willing to boost or promote.
Yeah, let me think about what school that might be.
Okay.
Because part of me is kind of leaning towards CP.
Mhm.
I'd love for it to be a school where maybe those students don't necessarily always have those opportunities. And so if
Right.
we have a teacher there that's really advocating for them to do this work,
Mhm.
there's some schools in the district that they're always given these opportunities, and those students are very privileged. And I'd like to be able to reach the other students that.
Be able to spread it out a bit.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I think we're all on the same page there. It would be nice to have more involvement across a broader spectrum than just, the same folks who seem to, how shall I say, get those opportunities more frequently. So, yeah, I agree.
Hey, Linda.
So, yes.
/ mom.
Yeah.
My children are probably going to have a coup if I don't leave now.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so thank you very much, Heather.
Yes.
Nice meeting you, Heather.
Okay.
Nice to meet with you guys as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so moving on, I just want to kind of give you all some nuts and bolts information, and I am going to attempt to share my screen with regard to that. And let me see here. Okay, can you all see this? Okay, great. This is our working budget. Okay. Right now we've categorized approximately $18,000 in expenses. Okay, and we have a budget of $27,000. Okay. Now there are things here that have not made it into the budget in more specific terms yet, not the least of which is maybe the cost of making some videos and other things. But I wanted you to see that this is essentially our expense outline that we're working with, okay? So I'm gonna stop that share. And then I probably didn't have to stop that completely, but then I'm gonna bring up another one here. Because I want to talk about awards with you. As I mentioned, Sylvie does not have the ability to be with us today, but she has done some work with awards, and she gave me an update with regard to some of her thoughts. And I thought her ideas were really good. You'll note here that we have 13 award categories, and best film overall would receive a cash prize of $500. Now, theoretically, we would give a check in the amount of $500 or however it works out. I'm not quite sure from the city, and a trophy. But it's like, who gets the trophy if it's for the film? Does it the team leader or what have you? So what Sylvie had mentioned was that why not do a really nice trophy and do the brass plaque on that trophy. And it's presented, yes, but it stays with the city in a case and it's on display. And then every year to year, a new plaque goes on, and I mean a new brass plaque goes on, and you put the other one on a frame, and they just go year to year to year like that. And then at the actual award ceremony, the whole team gets the money, whether they choose to go out to dinner or split it up, that's up to them. But they could all get medals and or smaller trophies, if you follow me. So that was something that Sylvie had mentioned, and she's investigating some costs and other options with regard to awards. But the one thing that she did mention, having been a contest participant in the past, that it generates a lot more excitement and a lot more interest the more awards you have the opportunity to present. And if entire teams are able to come up there and get medals and the like, it's a very energizing experience. So I would imagine Sylvie will have a little bit more to share with regard to that on Monday at our Arts Commission meeting. But I just thought that those early insights were pretty interesting. Okay. Any thoughts on that?
I like that idea. I was actually in my mind thinking of having some type of plaque that we can add nameplates to each year. I know when I did some up last year, I think I had like 4 made up for the school, and I think it was like $90 for each really nice wood plaque with like 25 spots or whatever for nameplates. So that can always just be hung up on the wall. And like you said, for the year, one will be on the trophy, and then we just kind of rotate it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, and then I thought that was a really good idea. So be interesting to see what she comes up with. She had mentioned that she was looking at some things in Lucite where there's like a film, a strip of film curled in around a film reel, and it sort of is in the shape of a prism. So at any rate, she's working on some really uniquely creative ideas. So I'm excited to see what she comes up with. So more on that. So in line with the awards, those judges' score sheets that Heather was going over will only determine the winners of 12 awards at the actual event. The Audience Choice Award will be determined the night of the event through an online voting platform. Okay, so we will be able to know ahead of time 12 awards and have maybe little plaques printed, or little brass plaques on whatever it is we ultimately give them on those 12, but not on the Audience Choice Award. And so with that in mind, I was thinking, how could we manage audience choice voting? I just want to show you this really quickly. Let me new share. And let's click on this.
While you're pulling that up, Linda, do we have a hashtag or something that we want to use for social media?
I think that is going to be a question for Cameron. Can you see this, by the way? Yes, you can. Okay.
So not that I know of yet, but I'm sure Jim will definitely put one together for it. I think that's a good idea.
Cameron, could you let these good folks know who Jim is? Because I'm sure that they don't know.
Oh yeah, Jim Capriva, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. He's our new communications manager. And so he's kind of the final say on the website, and he also runs all of our social media accounts. So he will, we can definitely check in with him on some insight for what hashtag he wants to use, and I think it's a good idea.
Okay. So what I'm sharing with you here is an image of an audience choice ballot that the Grand Theater has used for their 253 short film competition. When people pay their $7 to go into their screening party, they receive this audience choice ballot, which also serves as their program for the event. you'll see up at the top that they have to clearly mark their choice, and then they have to turn it in. And then somebody, some poor soul, has to count 300 ballots very quickly and determine who the winner of the Audience Choice Award is, which is to say, not super fun, not a very good task. The other side of this form, if I can, looking for it now.
Just can't get over some of the names on here, like number 18.
Oh, I know. Some of the names are truly interesting. What is that one? Something poop? It's like, oh boy.
It was Poop Dreams. Sorry.
Poop Dreams? It's
I'm
like,
tired.
Really?
It's a long
Do that? I mean, it's like, do you have an infant at home? Is that what's sparking that title? I don't know. This is the back, okay, of their Audience Choice ballot at the Grand. You'll note that it serves as a menu. You'll also note that they do serve beer and wine. And they also very courteously present information on the location of bathrooms on the back of their form. Okay. So at any rate, because we are endeavoring to leverage technology to limit, how shall I say, our own stress and our own hands-on, I was investigating ways in which we could do a fan favorite or audience choice ballot where we would be able to do online voting at the actual event and have the data roll up to tell us within minutes who the fan favorite is on site. So what I'm going to share with you next is information about Festive Vote. Okay. Need that there. Okay, can you see this? Great. So this is Festive Vote. It is a fully digital audience voting, attendee engagement, and data analytics platform for film festivals. What does that mean? Well, it means at the end of the film showing, a QR code will come up on the screen. People will hold up their phones to that QR code. It will take them to a link and they will be able to cast their vote automatically for their favorite film. It will then roll up all of these votes. And because it is a, how shall I say, very secure form of voting, I guess, not unlike your home computer that has its own IP address, so does your phone. So it only allows one vote per phone. And it essentially gets rid of any need for any kind of paper ballots. And because we're receiving our funding from the lodging tax, that was our grant, 17,000. The good folks over at FAB, Adriana, you know FAB, having been there, they end up with these little metal clickers where they have to keep track of the number of people that come into the event to be able to indicate to the lodging tax folks that their money's been well spent because it has a good draw, okay? But understanding that most people are going to want to vote, having stayed there now for nearly 3 hours, that will also be a means for us to track participation at the event, along with the voting. The cost for this is $349 for the day, and it will do all of the work for us. It will even provide messaging, and even if we want to put a survey on there to find out what people thought of the event, they'll have the opportunity to do that right online as well. Thoughts?
So do people have to create an account?
No.
Before, so it just automatically pops up? Is there a way to capture like emails or phone numbers to be able to do like an email campaign or something like that for next year? Does that make sense?
That is a really good question, and I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to ask.
Because
I do know that with regard to the teams that register and potentially the people who buy tickets on that Constant Connect, will have information to do what you're talking about. Now, with regard to the voting, I can't answer that question right now, but I will find out, Adriana.
No, but if the people that are purchasing tickets are able to provide that information, then this would just be redundant. We wouldn't need to do this as well with the voting here.
Okay. So Festive Vote, watch, vote, and win. So like I said, for $349, I think it seems pretty exciting. So your thoughts, Cameron?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to track them at the event. And I think even if there is an option, maybe there's just an opt-in for people that are interested in more information. So opt in to put their email down or something. So some people might be deterred if they have to put in information.
Yeah, I agree. So with that said, we are now over to Lonnie, who has got a lot to share with us with regard to the venue and the potential program schedule for the screening party.
All right. Well, Linda and I were able to meet at McGavick Center this week, and I don't know, I'm going to trust that everybody's been there, but if you haven't been there, it's a big, beautiful building. You have a great lobby that you come into. And when you come into the lobby, off to your right is really where the event space happens. There is an event that's happening in the morning of our March 19th, the date that we're going to be there. So they will have 60, is that correct, Linda? Tables, round tables set up throughout the entire venue space that seat 10 people a table. So that we're talking about potentially up to 600 people. So depending on how many teams we get that enter into the videos or, into the movie categories here, each team would get at least a table, and then with tickets, ticket sales or whatever, we'll try to categorize teams and their people sort of in the same zones. Inside the venue space, there are 4 display screens, video screens that are able to display whatever show we're presenting at the exact same time with no lapse in audio or video projection. So theoretically, we'll have certain teams that are kind of in their groups together and pointing towards certain video screens. I hope I'm articulating this okay. There's an area where a central stage is always set up. We don't know if it's going to be a 32-foot wide stage or a 24-foot wide stage, based on the venue that's ahead of us. But I think for us, that's not a big issue. There will be a podium. There are stairs that go up on either side of the stage. So there are some logistics and just figuring out when we're presenting awards, how we want people to come up and receive their awards. So there's some discussion about how to maybe lay out red carpet. So whatever stage size is being used by the venue in front of us, we basically just have to stick with because we don't have enough time to switch it out. So Linda, it's Pierce County.
I think they're having some kind of
It's a breakfast thing.
awards ceremony, awards breakfast or something where they're, acknowledging people for their achievements. And we at first had the space from 2 p.m. forward, but when Lonnie and I met, she indicated that they're normally out by noon. So we would have the space from noon forward.
Right.
So.
Yep. Which is awesome. I think totally, workable. So we talked about, sorry, I'm going to read my notes while I'm chatting with all of you live. We talked about outside of the venue having a Hollywood lights truck, one of these spotlight type trucks that, gets the lights going up in the air. Jen from the McGavick Center had suggestions on where that truck should be parked and behind the building, because that makes the spotlights really attractive. We will have to work on having a couple of big banners printed with the real life 96, logos. So there's something at the front entrance. Inside the lobby, we're hoping to have live music, I don't want to say background music, but the idea that there's going to be some socializing outside in the lobby area, but to have it be cozy. Colors are kind of based on what the logo has been designed off of. So, really just classic red, gold, black, trying to make it a little bit upscale, a little bit classy, kind of like you're at the Oscars. Maybe not completely, but basically, not pizza and beer necessarily. We're trying to launch this with a little bit of,
Finesse. Yeah.
finesse, exactly. And then really the practicality comes down to Jen at the center is going to send through some vendor names. And I think we just start to have, once we get those names, we have to start having some phone calls about tablecloth rentals, pipe and drape, which is, sort of the curtain that goes along the back side of the stage. How do you draw attention to the stage? The McGavick Center is a big space. So we have to figure out how to give it some life and some attention, but in a really a quick and efficient way, because we really don't, even if we get in there at noon, we only have maybe from noon to 4. You only have 4 hours realistically for setting up, because there's going to be a lot of stuff going on.
And to your point there, Lonnie, it's going to be kind of an all hands on deck proposition, because we're not able to start first thing in the morning and maybe work at a more leisurely pace with maybe fewer people. We need to have as many people from the Arts Commission present during that period to assist with getting all those table covers on. And, Lonnie's looking at centerpieces, and some of those things will probably need to be assembled in some way. And we may have to have some kind of pre-meeting, right, Lonnie, to do some pre-assembly, that kind of thing for the space. And
as much as we can do ahead of time. Yeah,
exactly. But you had mentioned something too, Lonnie. What was it about uplighting?
Oh, uplighting. So Jen had a great suggestion, and I understand the concept of these widgets, but you can basically get like a battery operated spotlight that's its own little canister that you can set next to the wall, and then it shoots up, sort of this beam of light against a brick wall, or it's very Hollywood-ish, it kind of dovetails into the whole spotlight effect. And I think she's a tremendous resource with a lot of great suggestions. So we'll have to figure out. Those are some great big effects that take minimal amount of work.
So I wonder if they have some type of light projector, because then you could project like a lighted image on the wall or something like that, or.
Yeah, I think that's all through subcontractors that are vended out. Yeah. But she's going to be giving us a list of people to talk to. Yeah, exactly. And that's between Linda and I, we're on her email list. And when we get whoever those suppliers are, like, I'm going to be picking their brains really quickly. How do you go big? Go big.
Yeah. And then that information, you know, when it comes in, I think we'll have the opportunity then to plug some of this stuff after we get some prices into our working budget to see, okay, well, what's going to add the most value, have the most impact, and maybe what do we need to pull back on a little bit. So that's kind of where we're starting.
So as far as getting all hands on deck, yes, we will need as many people. I'm just thinking, I've done a lot of like auctions and things. And
Right.
gosh, that setup's like the night before through the entire next day, just for the next evening. So I'm wondering, and maybe Cameron, like youth council or whatever, students need volunteer hours. If we could get students to come and help volunteer, it'll be something fun for them to do, and also get those volunteer hours that they need.
Good idea.
And then what are we looking at as far as like advertising out in the community? Are we going to be doing like lawn stakes, like you see? I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know, because otherwise, because I'm thinking of a few years ago when they did Fab, I didn't see anything in the community, and they just had some signs up by Clover Park Tech
They
to
did.
point us in there. I had no idea. I would have never had any idea that it was going on, and it was great. But I didn't know that it was happening. So it's like, if we could have some things made up to put in different parts of the community that may not drive past Clover Park Tech there. So
You make a great point, Adriana, because you know, I was at the Fab this year, and I was asked by Phil to do introduce one of the films on Sunday, October 10th. And actually both films. And so I was there in the evening, and there was nobody there in the atrium per se. And I was introducing films at 12:30 and at 6:30 to 6 and 7 people respectively. So it has to be very soul crushing to put a lot of time and energy into putting together an event and nobody comes. So I know we've got a $6,500 budget for advertising. We obviously need to have some very serious conversations about how we're going to use that money for the best impact, the most impact. And signs on the day that are probably immediately outside the venue are not going to satisfactorily get it done. So you make a very good point. So Lonnie, was there anything else you wanted to share about the program itself that you're looking at?
No, the general venue setup, we're going to have to figure some of that stuff out. The timing, I don't know if we want to address that tonight, of like when it starts and how long we think this is going to go. I just sort of penciled in, like, if we are allowed to set up at 12, you know, on the heels of this other group leaving, which does benefit us because the tables and the chairs are already in the places they need to be. So I don't want to make that sound like, you know, it's not a good thing, because it kind of is. But initially there was a discussion about, well, if the doors open at 5:30 and everybody's coming in, and there, you know, there's appetizers and there's beverages, and then if we start the initial screening at 7, if we have a goal of at least 30 films, So you have, and we put an intermission in there, you have 15 films. And if they're up to, if each one is at 5 minutes a piece, that's 75 minutes. So then we're having our first intermission at like 8:15. And you need to do at least a 15-minute intermission for people to get up and use the restroom and do all their things. And then the second round, brings us to basically 9:45. And then if we're going to do awards, so the timeline is getting pushed out. So my question is, should we start this sooner? Do you cut the number of films back so you don't have but that doesn't seem fair. I mean, I'm not sure how, I've not been to one of these festivals before, so I'm not really sure how it works. So Gary, if you are still on and have suggestions, I'll take it.
Well, what I will say is this, I have noticed, like at the 253 or at the Gig Harbor Film Festival, that they start out with 32. And I'm sure you didn't really notice this per se, but when I showed you the ballot, oh geez, that's really washing out. But when I showed you the ballot, at the bottom, I noticed that there were 28 films on the program. They started out with 32, but they wound up with 28. So that could have been perhaps because when some of the films came in, they may have been disqualified for content, or they may have been disqualified because they didn't include the required elements. But that's what they wound up with in their showing. So I'm a little apprehensive about reducing the number of films just because of maybe having to account for disqualifications in some cases. And first time out, I guess I want to capture as many people who are interested as we possibly can. But so it's a bit of a conundrum, because for some folks, it could mean that they don't get home. If we keep things as they are with the time frame that we've kind of penciled in right now, people could conceivably be getting home right around 11.
Plus, I'm just trying to think, when I've gone to different screenings, it's a late evening. I mean, it is to be expected. I guess and in my mind, I'm trying to picture, I keep thinking starting at noon, set up. In my mind, I'm just so fixated on it. But as far as
it's scary.
It is, and that's okay. It's doable. I'm just thinking of like the timeline, what that's going to look like. So are we serving drinks? Will we have wine? Will we have alcohol? What are we going to do? I'm thinking of the last screening that I went to for a film. There was a ton of us still just waiting to get drinks, and they were already kind of starting the showing. So because then also you come in, and then they had a really cool backdrop. You could take pictures. There was a photographer there doing pictures. So then, you can look at your picture online or whatever. But by the time we did all of those things, it was like, oh my gosh, we need to rush into the theater to start watching. Yeah. So I guess, what do we want to do before? What's that going to look like leading into it? So, and people like pictures. People like picture opportunities. So
they do. You're absolutely right. And Lonnie and I were talking about that. And I think, Lonnie, you built in about an hour and a half, right? From when the doors would open, that would, to when the screening would start. So if the doors would open at 5:30, the actual screening of the films would start at 7. So I don't know your thoughts, Adriana. Do you think an hour and a half of music and opportunity to hit the no-host bar and is adequate, or do we need to open the doors at 5?
No, I think that's probably good, because I'm feeling like we're in COVID times. So it wasn't like it was before, where we were crammed in there and you're socializing and, so that, yeah, I think that should be good. Because really people will go in and actually sit down at their tables. I don't know. I see Gary's hand up though.
I was also going to say that, you don't necessarily want to give people 4 hours to drink at a film festival.
Good
Right?
point, Gary. Good
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
The events that I've been to in the past, and it's kind of like, I just think about it in these terms. I'm a photographer and I shoot weddings and events and those kinds of things. Shooting a wedding is an all-day event. It's lots of fun seeing people get together, get ready for it, get everything set up, have this ceremony, and then start to cut loose afterwards. You really don't want me to stay taking photos after the first hour or two of your reception, because that's when things get super sloppy. And it's just, it ends up being, I don't know. And also we are in COVID times, and who knows where things are going to be at when it's time to do it,
Yeah, you're right. So, good point. So maybe an hour and a half is a good frame ahead of the actual screening, kind of sticking with that hour and a half. And then using that time, because Lonnie, you had talked about the photo booth and the step and repeat, right? With the logo, photo ops.
Right. Yeah. So we were talking about, setting up photo booth opportunities. Todd from Roby's photo, he has like, so you could do your own selfie thing, but there's this kiosk that takes a photo, and then if the kiosk so I'm thinking unmanned, but the kiosk is kind of interesting because people can program it to more than one photo to themselves and they email it, but then we would potentially have access to those photos to put on our website for future advertising.
We would just have to make, sorry, I interrupted.
Go ahead, Gary.
We just need to be sure that people are aware that their photos could be used in that situation. So just sign hung up, the ticket taker letting people know as they come in, or,
right.
Whatever.
Or you have to agree to it before you. Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Totally. So my question, actually, Gary and Adriana, is a 7:00 actual kickoff time for the films fine? And if it's going until 11 or 11:30, by the time we finish the films and finish the awards, is that all good, or should we be starting sooner?
I was kind of wondering if, because we have the young age group, the young age category, if that really late time would deter some of the families from sticking around till the awards and stuff, or if, but I also haven't attended any of these, so I'm not sure if that's standard, or is that maybe just something to keep in mind.
Good point, Cameron. Yeah. Gary?
I'm kind of a night owl anyway, so I'm like, let it go till midnight. That's cool. But I also understand, if you're wanting, younger folks to be involved and whatnot, it turns into an issue. But you know what? The alcohol thing turns into an issue too. Do we really want to have a bunch of high school kids and younger, film goers and whatnot, participants there, and have that kind of thing going on? That could be awkward for some folks or whatever. I don't know. I personally think going till 11:30 or midnight is probably fine. Especially, this is kind of a guided activity, or not a guided activity, but there's stuff going on. You've got a lot of films to take in. Hopefully we get a lot of submissions, and I'd like to give everybody a chance to see them and noodle them over, and not have it be a completely breakneck pace. Have we built in like bathroom breaks or intermissions in between? Because that's something we got to take into consideration with time too, right?
Yeah. So Gary, I kind of roughly, and I apologize, I could probably try to put this in front of the screen, but in essence, the rough timeline was open the doors at 5:30. You know, there's music, the
Refreshments.
yeah, refreshments, hosted bar, all that kind of stuff. So the first screening, the beginning of the first screening starts at 7, assuming there are 15 films, 5 minutes apiece. That goes until 8:15. If they're full 5 minutes and all that. 15-minute intermission. So from 8:15 to 8:30. Then we do another 75 minutes for the second half of the 15 films at 5 minutes apiece. That brings us to 9:45. We can do another intermission break, and that basically brings us to 10 o'clock. And then that's when the awards, there, maybe if we do a raffle, that's folded in there somewhere. And I'm thinking it would be kind of a wrap up by 11 o'clock. Wrap up of the event by 11 o'clock. And then the behind the scene teams here would have tear down as well after that. So probably up until midnight.
Yeah.
Is my speculation.
I did hear from Jen. Now, I think that we probably need to nail this down, but she said that our reservation goes until 11 p.m. So I don't know if that means that, you know, we have to be physically cleared out by then, or our event is over and we can be in the building doing some cleanup. You know, I don't know what will be required of us, but certainly that would be some good questions to ask.
Yeah, I guess that means where you have to be out.
That's what I was gonna say.
But, you know, I think that the timeline that you pulled together, Lonnie, is a good one. She built in the breaks. And the thing is too, is that I don't know that the awards will go an hour. I don't know that they will. I mean, I guess we'll just have to think about that a little harder in terms of what the flow of that would be. I mean, I don't think we're like the Oscars and we're going to invite people to give speeches when they get their awards.
No, that's fair, but you're talking about at least 12 awards.
Yeah.
And folks coming up and a couple people with cell phones, at least trying to take photographs of them on the stage before they exit.
That's true.
So, I mean, that's, I don't know, 3 minutes a piece, maybe, by the time that's executed.
The other thing too is that because the timeline is solid, it's good. You know, we could maybe move it back, our opening the doors to say 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm feeling like we might, I think we're gonna, we'll have to figure out a little more details on
We'll
that.
have to just talk about that a little bit more. Okay, so we just have one other thing to talk about, and that was entertainment. Paige, are you still on the call? Okay, so Paige has dropped off. So very quickly, I reached out to Paige and to Daryl both because Daryl, as you know, worked on the summer concert series, and Paige, well, she has a lot of musical connections in Lakewood. And I asked them if they would please source live music for the event, not necessarily approach artists per se, but to go online and look for artists, maybe trios or what have you, jazz, that would put a really good vibe atmosphere into that atrium area that would perform, but still allow for there to be good conversation and networking amongst the people who are there. In other words, the music is sort of an enhancement of the event, but it's not the main event, if you follow me. So I asked them to investigate that. I don't have a lot of experience with that, but I just went in and I played briefly and I put up some music, and you can click on some groups, and then there's like audio clips that you can listen to. So at any rate, I turned that over to Daryl and to Paige to pull together a list of things that they thought were promising and then present them to the Arts Commission. And then we as a group could maybe from that list, maybe narrow down a top 2 and give those to Sally, so then she could follow up with them and check on availability. And then from their contracts. How does that sound? Okay. And next steps, we need to create a video for the website to generate interest around Real Life 96. I think Jim was going to be doing some work on that. Is that correct, Cameron?
Yeah, last I heard, he was going to be working on that project.
Okay, and then other videos. It's not good for people to look at a blank screen when they go into a room. So maybe a film scroll with our logo and thank you to any sponsors that we have would be good as people walk in. We also need to think about walk-in music into the venue and also during the awards. And then also when we first start to show the films, a welcome video to the audience, telling them what they're going to see, and then maybe a welcome back short video, you know, oh, you're still here, great, you know, that kind of thing when the second round of films play. So those things are kind of stuff that we're needing to think about moving forward as well. Does anyone have anything else that they'd like to share?
No.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned, we've got our Arts Commission meeting on Monday. Anything new that you find out or any, I know that Heather is going to be working on that registration software, so I will ask her to be present at our meeting on Monday. Cameron, if you've had the opportunity to tie together more of the information for the website, that's a great opportunity to share that with the rest of the group as well. And Lonnie, I guess if we hear from Jen, we'll be able to potentially see if there's anything on the vendor side of things that we're able to explore a little bit more deeply. But other than that, I don't have anything more for this evening. So if we're good to say goodbye and have a great weekend, I'm all for that.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween. Yeah.
Thank you all for
Okay.
participating.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, and have a really great night.
You
Okay.
too.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Cameron.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Gary.